Can I be honest with you for a minute? Most trap beat tutorials are in FL Studio, and I'm pretty sure Ableton producers could even figure out how to make their 808s hit in FL Studio as well, because there's so many videos on it. With that being said, there's barely any tutorials on how to do this in Ableton, especially if you're excluding our channel. But today we're changing that all for good, and we're going to be going over two different methods to achieve amazing sounding 808s using Ableton stock plugins. And the second method that we're going to be talking about today is something I haven't seen mentioned on any other channel, and it sounds even better than the original. So without any further ado, let's jump right into it. The first method is putting the soft clipper directly on your master channel. So you can pretty much use any soft clipper that you have. A lot of them sound very similar. The only thing that might sound different between them is when they have a soften knob. It's going to soften the curve more than hardening it, and it's going to give you a little more of a fuzzy and a softer effect. But besides that, most of these soft clippers sound exactly the same. I've tested out so many of them, and they all sound really good. So don't worry about it too much. For our case, we're going to be using the stock Ableton glue compressor. And when you go ahead and load the glue compressor on your master channel, it's going to look like this by default, okay? What you're going to want to do is turn down the range to 0 dB. That's so the compressor isn't doing any of the work. Basically, we're turning off the compressor by doing that. And then we're going to turn on this soft clipper option, and it's just acting as a soft clipper now, not doing any of the compression. So now we have a soft clipper on our master. The only other thing that we need to do to achieve this result is have our 808 clipping above 0 dB. And that's what's going to give us those subtle harmonics when it cuts off the curve. So obviously we have our 808 hitting pretty loud here. It's almost 2.5 dBs over. And we could go up or down in volume depending on how much of the effect you'd like, or how loud you want your 808 sitting in the mix. You can hear it gets to be way too much when we go up this loud. We want our 808s to be nice and loud for this example, so we're going to leave it right at 1.5 gain, which is hitting about 2.5 dBs over. This is a shortened spins. So once we have our 808 to our liking, what we can do from there is put a utility on the master as well before the soft clipper, and we can either turn the whole mix down a little bit or up a little bit to dial in the effects as much as we'd like. But what you'll notice, especially with the soft clipper, is once you go up a little bit too much, it's going to start squashing the beat dramatically. Let's go to 2. That's already pushing it. That's definitely pushing it. And if we go up to 3, KO'd, man.
You got knocked the f out, man.
Now, it's also worth mentioning that some producers would rather put the soft clipper directly on their 808 channel, and you can totally do that. In fact, for all the stuff we go over today, you can put that directly on the 808 channel if you'd prefer to do it that way as well. Personally, I like to put it on the master channel and have the 808 clip through the master because it adds that subtle harmonic to the whole mix instead of just the 808. So that pretty much covers the first method, but let's get into the second one. So for the second one, we're also going to go ahead and put a utility on here. In fact, we're just going to go ahead and turn this whole chain off. Next, we're also going to add a limiter. So let's go ahead and throw one of those on here. We're going to be using all Ableton plugins today. But also what we want to add is a saturator. So let's find that as well. So we're going to use the limiter to catch those peaks instead of the soft clipper. And it's going to sound a lot more transparent if we do it that way. For example, let's hear what it sounds like just like this. Now we can compare that to how it sounds with the soft clipper. You can definitely tell the difference there from those subtle harmonics it's adding. But the thing I love about this method is that we can take this saturator, put it before the limiter, and we can go ahead and apply some distortion with the saturator, and we can really dial in those effects more precisely, right? We don't have a saturation control on our soft clipper, so we can add that in and really get it precisely to our taste. And we have the utility on here because with this method, I'm going to turn the master down quite a bit. Because if we turn all this off, let's look at how much it's clipping. We're going like 4 decibels over 0 already. So let's turn everything back on. So I'm going to go down. Let's go to -5. because we're going to dial in the drive on this saturator, and we don't want it boosting 5 dBs over into the saturator right away because we just don't have as much control over it. So I like to also use the soft sine. So now we can play with this drive knob to really dial in the effects that we want. You can hear it goes crazy, even just adding a couple dB, and that's because our mix is already loud as it is. So if we need to pull this back more, we can do that. We want to make it subtle, but we also want it to be loud. So let's dial this in. Let's start at like 1 dB here. That already sounds pretty good. I really like how it sounds at that 1.7. And what I want to do is we're going to just put this output to like negative 1.7 as well. So we're kind of counteracting that. And now we can add gain back into the mix by either adding gain from what we took away on this utility or from the limiter after the fact. It's going to give us different results. Now let's go to the utility and see how it would sound that way instead. So I kind of like how that's sounding right now, and we can always boost the limiter after the effect as well. So personally, I liked how that second method sounded better, but it also sounds a lot louder. So what we could do is we could go over here and we could kind of boost up the signal of this gain right here before it enters that soft clipper to get it to sound louder. But remember guys, when we started boosting that too much, it completely squashed our mix and we start to lose the quality of the beat. So we could go ahead and go with 2 dBs, but entering that 3 range was a little too iffy for me. So they definitely both sound good, don't get me wrong. But the thing that I love about this second method is that you have more control over exactly how much saturation is being applied. And we just have more control in more areas, so we can go ahead and tweak it to sound exactly how I want. And also what I was hearing is that with the saturator method, method 2, it also felt like the 808 was filling out more of the beat. Whereas with the first method, the 808 was punching super loud, but it was kind of standing on its own. It didn't feel as full and as soft and fuzzy in the mix. So I kind of like how that second method was sounding. But guys, definitely let me know in the comments below, which method do you think sounded better? Besides that, guys, if you want to check out a crazy Detroit style beat that I just made, this one right here where we make a Peasy type beat from scratch went absolutely nuts, fam. Don't miss that one. And besides that, fam, we'll be catching y'all again in the next one. Peace out.